Hello, writers. Welcome to our online classroom. We have been working for the past couple of weeks on writing a personal narrative, which is a story that you tell about yourself and your life, a moment that has significance to you. And today I'm going to show you how you can develop your draft by writing your conclusion. The conclusion is really important when you're thinking about a personal narrative because that's the part of the writing where you show the significance of this event. You show how it impacted the main character, which is you. So this is what you are going to need today. You'll need your personal narrative draft. It's best if you have an introduction, you've written the rising action and the climax. You'll need a checklist for narrative conclusions. That's on paper. You can get that from one of the teachers. And you'll also need to log into StudySync and open the conclusions assignment. I want you to do something on there as well. So to give you a better idea of some of the vocabulary that writers use, I want you to pause the video here and log into StudySync. Watch the conclusions video and complete the vocabulary section. Then I want you to come back to this video when you are done. So go ahead and pause the video here, please. Hello and welcome back. Now you have completed watching the StudySync video on conclusions. You've also learned some of the vocabulary that writers use. And now I'm going to show you how I prepare to write the conclusion of my personal narrative. So I, as a writer, never try to do anything without doing some sort of planning first. So I'm going to show you the notes that I'm going to make. This is just on a scrap sheet of paper before I start to do my writing. First, let's go back and let's look at my personal narrative so you have an idea of what I'm talking about here. Here is my narrative. I wrote about the day that my first daughter was born. So I'm going to read it to you and then I'll show you when I get down to the bottom where I'm going to type my conclusion today. So here's what I have so far. It says, standing at the bus stop every morning and watching my oldest daughter climb the steps to the bus that will take her to her K2 classroom, it's easy to forget how little she once was. It was only 5 years ago that I sat in a hospital room in Boston holding this tiny 8-pound person that had just come into the world and wondered, what will she be like? What will being a dad be like? I'm still not sure that I have the complete answers to those questions, but I am really enjoying finding out more and more each day. However, no matter who my daughter Adelaide turns out to be, I will never forget July 5th, 2014, the day that we met. I woke up after only one brief hour of sleep to a fully lit room and my wife leaning over me. She was having trouble standing up and she was saying, "Kirk, I think it's time. I think the baby is coming." Having known this day was just around the corner, we had prepared for a quick departure from the house. Nevertheless, I don't think you can ever be totally ready when it is midnight and you are running out of the house headed for the hospital. After helping my wife get into our car, I started the drive to Brigham and Women's Hospital from our home in Jamaica Plain. The night was dark and had been raining for a while. The street lights reflected off of the wet pavement, and I struggled through fatigue and concentration on the road. I'll have to come back to that. To comfort my wife and tell her everything was going to be fine. The drive was short, and I was suddenly thankful that we were doing it in the middle of the night because there was zero traffic. As we pulled into the emergency room drop-off lane at the hospital, I was too distracted by making sure everyone was safe to truly comprehend that I was moments away from becoming a dad. My wife was checked in by the hospital staff, and we were taken to a room where a nurse would assess how far my wife was along in her labor. The wait seemed too long, especially for my wife, who was desperate to know when she would be having this baby. Finally, a perky nurse popped in from the other side of a white curtain and greeted us. We were so happy to see her. She took my wife's vital signs and ran some quick tests. Then, with a big smile on her face, she said, "Okay, we're going to get you to a delivery room." Holy cow, this was it. We were going to the room where my daughter would be born. Was it going to take long? Would the baby be okay? What was she going to look like? Were the questions going through my mind. I can only imagine what was happening in my wife's thoughts. Well, as soon as we got to the delivery room, we would not have to wait long to find out the answers to all of these questions. After only about an hour of pushing, the midwife said, "Okay, Jackie, just give me one more good push." My wife, who was in obvious pain, complied and pushed with all her might. When she did, the midwife emerged with a tiny but complete little human. I stood in total awe as the nurses in the room moved with swift precision, and in only a few moments, the baby was breathing on her own, crying and squirming on my wife's chest. She was perfect, healthy, and happy to be in her arms, her mom's arms, instead of her belly. So that's what I have so far, but I need to write my conclusion. So as you saw in the video, the conclusion is supposed to show the characters reflecting on what happened, how they feel about it, and why it matters. So let me think about these questions before I try to write my conclusion. I want to do something that just sums up a little bit of what happened. I just told the story, so I don't have to be too detailed here. But I wonder if I could say something about like this. When I think about the day and all that I yada yada yada. When I think about the day and all that I experienced. Okay, to me, that kind of brings the reader's attention back to the important events of my story, all that I experienced. They'll remember waking up in the middle of the night. They'll remember me driving. They'll remember the hospital room, all the important stuff. I think that's a good enough summary. Okay, this is how like I feel about it, since I'm the main character. How I feel about it. Well, when I think back to that day, I have a lot of feelings about it. I feel pride in being a new father. I feel joy at having a young baby girl, and a great sense of responsibility. Great sense of responsibility. So those are some of my feelings about it. Okay, and then finally, I want to come down to this really important question. Why does it all matter? Why does this story stick out in my mind as something that is important to my life? Well, for one, it matters because it meant I was a new father. It means my role in the world. My role in the world was bigger now. I wasn't just caring for myself, I was caring for another person. Um, let's see. And here's something I could say. I'm a teacher, but now I would be teaching my daughter everything. So I could make that connection, like I'm a teacher at school and I teach kids how to read and write, but now I'm going to be teaching this person how to do everything in life. Okay, so now that I have these notes, I at least have a better sense of what's going to be in my conclusion. I'm not just typing and hoping that I get everything that I need to. So let me take my notes, and I'm actually going to go back to my draft here, and I'm going to start to write. And what I'd like for you to do is to just watch me write. If you want to pause the video here and do your own notes on your conclusion, that might be a good thing. But if you want to just watch me go through the process, you can do that too. So here I go. Let me see. Let me start out with the first line that I came up with. When I think about the day and all that I experienced, I imagine that I will never forget the details and what it means to my life. There I'm kind of summing up my story. No, I don't like that. I was suddenly aware of my new role in the world. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. I'm not sure I love everything that I have here, but I think I have a complete conclusion. So let me read back over it here and see what I have. When I think about the day and all that I experienced, I imagine that I will never forget the details and what it means to my life. As soon as I laid eyes on my daughter Adelaide, I was overcome with emotions. I felt pride in being a father. I felt joy that my daughter was healthy. Most of all, I felt a great sense of responsibility. I had no idea what it meant to be a father, but I knew that it would be a lot of work. I also was suddenly aware of my new role in the world and how it was much bigger than just yesterday. As a high school teacher, I'm used to giving lessons about reading and writing, but now I would be a teacher for life. I had to begin planning my curriculum about everything that my daughter would need to know to be a great person. Okay, so like I said, I think I'll change some words, but at least I have a summary of what happened up here as my summary. I have how did I feel about it? And I also have some writing about why it all matters or what was significant about this moment. If I have those three things, then I know that I have a good conclusion and I can begin revising my essay. Okay, now it's your turn. You can pause the video here and I want you to try writing your own conclusion. Try and include a summary of what happened, how you feel about what happened, and an explanation of why it all matters. When you're finished with that, come back so that we can wrap up. All right, writers, let's review what we did today. First, we learned that a conclusion is important in narratives because it restates the main point of the story and shows why it is significant or important. Then we wrote our conclusion and we checked it with that checklist, answering those three questions. What happened? How did the characters feel about it? And why does it matter? Maybe your next step is to have somebody else read it and give you some pointers, or you can move on to revising your essay. All right, great job. I look forward to reading your essays. Bye-bye.